People think they do. They imagine a single screaming match, a slammed door, a dramatic explosion. But the truth is quieter, much slower. Like a rope fraying one thread at a time until finally, snap, there's nothing left to hold, and that snap for me came at my own dinner table. My father's voice cut across the room like a knife. You and that kid of yours, you're nothing but leeches, sucking this family dry. He didn't even look at me when he said it. He said it to the plate, to the fork, to the table I bought, in the house I paid for. My mother didn't flinch. She nodded along, lips pursed just slightly, like she'd been waiting for this moment. Like the words tasted sweet to her. I didn't cry, I didn't beg. I sat perfectly still and said the calmest sentence of my life. You have 24 hours to leave. And the silence that followed. God. It was so sharp it almost rang. But what they didn't know, what they could never understand, was that I had been bracing for this moment for years. Years of quiet wounds. Years of being the dependable one. Years of being the child who patched every leak while my brother set the whole house on fire. From the outside, my family looked perfect. The kind of people who took Christmas photos in matching flannel. The kind of people neighbors described as so lovely. My mom was the hero of every bake sale. My dad shook hands like he was running for mayor. And my brother Knox was the golden child the world orbited around. And me? I was the quiet one, the helpful one, the afterthought, the kid who learned early that peace in our house was fragile, and my silence was the glue holding it together. That I grew up being told, family first. Don't be difficult. Don't make things worse. And the unspoken rule underneath it, your feelings matter less. By 16, I already understood the hierarchy. Knox wrecked a car? Dad joked it off. I got an A- in physics? Mom sighed like I disappointed her soul. Not everyone can shine like Knox Nova, she said once, wiping the counter with unnecessary force. I laughed it off at the time. But I felt something heavy settle in my chest, a weight I wouldn't recognize as resentment until years later. When I had my son Asher, everything shifted. He was so small, so new. So full of trust, he wrapped his tiny fingers around mine in the hospital, and something inside me clicked. I promised him, silently, desperately, that I would never let him feel invisible. Not the way I had. Not ever. But I didn't expect my family to use him too. To weaponize him. To twist his existence into guilt. I didn't see the damage forming until it was almost too late. The breaking point came slowly, like a cold draft creeping under a door. Then suddenly it was everywhere. It started with a phone call from my mother, her voice trembling, theatrical, rehearsed. Your father needs surgery. The house is behind 300,000. We're drowning. My stomach twisted, because I'd heard this song before. Different lyrics. Same tune. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I said, bring everyone to dinner. We talk face to face. She hesitated. Just a second. But in that second I heard the truth. There was no surgery. No foreclosure. Only another empty hand held out toward me. That night, after Asher fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table and wrote myself a note. Tiny rules on a yellow sticky. No money. No guilt. No attacking my son. End the meeting if needed. A pathetic shield, but the only one I had. Then I called Tessa, my anchor, my friend, the one person who saw the cracks long before I admitted they existed. She didn't hesitate. They're lying, she said flatly. Record the dinner. Texas is one-party consent. Protect yourself. And for the first time in a long time, I listened. The next 24 hours crawled up. By the time evening came, the house was so clean it felt sterile. For plates. For glasses. Everything arranged with military precision because my nerves were shot. Asher sat on the couch doing homework, glancing up every time I breathed too loudly. I sent him to a friend's house before the knock came. The knock that felt like a hammer against my ribs. My mother walked in first with fake warmth and store-bought barbecue. Dad followed, smaller than he used to look but still filled with that old steel. Knox entered last, phone in hand, smirk ready, like he was the one doing me a favor. They smiled. They softened the edges. My mother started with nostalgia. Birthdays, old neighbors, her potato salad recipe. A script she perfected over decades. I didn't play along. Let's see the paperwork, I said. Hospital bills. Bank letters. All of it. Her smile dropped like a mask slipping. There isn't any paperwork, she said quietly. You'll just have to trust us. And that was the moment. Right there. Trust. The word they had used to drag me through years of obligation. The word that had chained me to their sinking ship. That I looked at all three of them. The liars, the takers, the dreamers, and something inside me finally hardened. The air in the dining room felt too thick, like it had weight. Like it wanted to press down on my shoulders until I couldn't breathe. My mother sat across from me. Hands folded so neatly it looked painful. My father kept tapping his fork on the edge of his empty plate. Knox scrolled his phone like he was bored at a dentist appointment. Meanwhile, I sat still, back straight, recorder running silently inside my pocket. A part of me wondered if they could hear it. If they could somehow sense that this time, I wasn't letting anything slide. My mother cleared her throat first. A tiny rehearsed sound. Then she sighed the way people sigh when they're about to give a speech they've practiced in a bathroom mirror. Nova, sweetheart, we didn't want it to come to this. There it was. The guilt hook. They always started with guilt. She reached across the table, fingertips brushing the wood like she was searching for mine. We thought maybe, just maybe, family would mean enough for you to help without asking questions. The room fell silent except for the soft buzz of the refrigerator. I didn't take her hand and I didn't lean forward and I simply said, "Show me the paperwork." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't crack. But the firmness in my tone made my mother's eyes twitch. My father set his fork down. Hard. Don't speak to your mother like that. We raised you better. The irony almost made me laugh. Better. They raised me to be small, to be quiet, to be convenient. I swallowed the bitterness rising in my throat. You raised me to fix everything, I said quietly. Even the things I didn't break. My father's jaw clenched. Knox finally looked up from his phone. My mother kept her voice soft, injured, the way she always did when she wanted to look like the saint. We're not asking for much, Nova. Just 300,000. We know you have it. My heart thudded once. Then again. 300,000? My voice cracked, disbelief crashing through each word. She nodded like it was the most normal request in the world. Your brother needs a fresh start, she said gently. And your father's business? No, the word cut through the air before I even thought it. Knox smirked at me, leaning back in his chair. There it is. The selfish streak. That word hit harder than I expected. Because growing up, they trained me like a dog to avoid it. Selfish. If I wanted space? Selfish. If I didn't want to babysit Knox for free? Selfish. If I had accomplishments they couldn't claim as theirs? Selfish. I'd spent my entire life trying to outrun a label they'd slapped on me before I even learned how to speak. But tonight, I felt something break loose inside my chest, something strong, something steady. Knox, I said calmly, you've been starting over every 6 months since you were 17. He opened his mouth. And I'm done paying for your restarts. The smirk vanished. His eyes flashed with that same spoiled anger he'd perfected over decades. You think you're better than us now? He snapped. Because you got lucky? Lucky. The word stung, not because it was true, but because it showed exactly how little he understood. Nothing I had came from luck. The late nights. The 2 jobs. The single motherhood. The apartment I lived in before the house I bought. The sacrifices. The therapy. The budgeting. The panic attacks I hid from my son. Nothing was handed to me that I leaned forward, elbows on the table. No knocks. Not lucky. Responsible. There's a difference. He scoffed. My father shook his head. My mother put on her softest expression, the one she used to manipulate pastors and school counselors. Nova, she murmured, we have never asked you for anything this serious before. I stared at her. Really stared. And I realized something chilling. She believed that. She truly believed that I hadn't already been their lifeline. Emotionally, financially, mentally for years. Mom, I said, you've asked me to cover your mortgage, your credit card debt, Dad's truck payment, Knox's DUI attorney, your medical bills, half of which weren't even real. My father slammed his hand on the table, rattling the plates. Enough! But I didn't jump. I didn't shrink. I lifted my chin. No, I said. It's not enough. Not anymore. His eyes narrowed, darkening with that old familiar fury. You're ungrateful, he hissed. After everything we've done for you? What have you done for me? The words fell out before I could stop them. Sharp. Honest. My father blinked like he'd been slapped. My mother gasped softly, pressing a hand to her chest. Knox laughed under his breath. Wow, he muttered. There she is. The real Nova. But he was wrong. This wasn't the real me. This was the version they created from constant pressure, constant demands, constant erasure. This was the version forged from their neglect. This was the version that finally stopped trying to be their savior. My mother tried one more time. She whispered it so gently, the way people whisper confessions in church pews. We thought you loved us. And just like that, the guilt sliced straight into me. Because I did love them. In the only ways they allowed me to. But loving them had almost destroyed me. My voice shook when I answered. I do love you. But I'm done being used. My father scoffed loudly, pushing his chair back. You're dramatic. Always have been. And something inside me went silent. Completely silent. A cold, steady silence, the kind that comes right before a storm. Then he said it. The sentence that changed everything, the sentence that ended the night. You and that kid of yours are nothing but a burden. My chest constricted. My ears rang. Time stopped. Asher. My son. My whole world. I felt my hands curl into fists beneath the table. You're talking about your grandson, I whispered. My father shrugged. A child born from a mistake isn't my problem. My breath caught. My vision blurred. Knox snorted a laugh. My mother looked away, pretending she didn't hear. And that was it. That was the moment the rope finally snapped. The moment I stopped hoping my family could ever be something different. I stood up slowly, deliberately, feeling a strange calm settle over me. Then I said the sentence that would echo through the house for days. You have 24 hours to leave my home. My mother's mouth fell open. My father's face darkened. Knox swore under his breath, but I didn't waver. Not this time. Leave, I repeated. Now. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I had ever heard. They didn't leave right away. Of course they didn't. My father pushed back from the table like a king who'd been insulted by a servant. Knox stood up so fast his chair screeched across the floor. My mother whispered my name like it was a plea and a warning all at once. But I remained standing. Hand steady. Heart steady. Voice steady. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of them. My father pointed at the floor, at my floor like he owned it. You can't kick us out of our daughter's house. I shook my head slowly. This isn't your house. And I'm not your doormat. The words tasted strange, foreign but powerful. Knox scoffed, stepping toward me. You think you're tough now? Big woman with a big house? You still need us. I turned my gaze to him, really looked at him. The boy who'd been worshipped, the man who'd never grown up, the brother who never saw me as anything except a tool. No, I said softly. You need me. That's why you're all here. My mother pressed her hands together like she was praying. Nova, honey, listen. Families go through hard times. You're taking one bad moment and blowing it out of proportion. One bad moment? My voice trembled with laughter, cold, broken laughter. This isn't one moment, Mom. It's years. Years of taking. Years of guilt-tripping. Years of treating me like a backup plan. Her lips trembled. But she didn't deny it. She couldn't. Not anymore. My father took a step toward me. You think we don't appreciate you? I held his gaze. You don't even see me. And that struck something in him. I saw the flicker. The moment-old denial collided with uncomfortable truth. He opened his mouth, but Knox cut him off. Jesus, Nova, enough. You got knocked up by some loser. And now you think you're above all of us because you managed not to screw up every part of your life. My breath hitched. My jaw clenched, and my blood turned ice cold. You don't talk about my son. Knox threw his hands up. Why? Because it's the only thing you did, right? That kid is a... I stepped forward. One more word, I said quietly. Say one more thing about my child and I swear. My father held an arm across Knox's chest before he could finish. A rare moment. A shocking one. My father stopping him. But not to protect me. Never for me. To stop the fight from escalating beyond his control. He looked at Knox, not me. Enough, he muttered. And that told me everything I needed to know. They weren't scared of hurting me. They were scared of losing the benefits I provided. The realization landed like a punch. They never loved me the way they claimed. They loved what I could do for them. My mother's voice softened again, falsely gentle like velvet wrapped around broken glass. Nova, darling, maybe we all said things we didn't mean. I stared at her. Didn't mean? You let him call your grandson a burden. Her face tightened. A small flicker. Crack. But still no apology. No accountability. No shame. Just the same script she'd used all my life. Make Nova doubt herself. Make Nova soften. Make Nova the villain if she holds a boundary. But this time, the script didn't work. I felt something rising inside me. Years of swallowed words, buried pain, minimized feelings. Everything I'd held down so they could remain comfortable. All rose at once. Heavy. Hot. Unstoppable. You know what's funny? I whispered. I'm not even angry. Not anymore. I'm tired. My mother blinked. Tired of what? I met her eyes. Tired of being the only adult in this family. The silence that followed was suffocating. Knox clenched his jaw. My father looked away. My mother's eyes glistened, not with regret but with indignation. How dare you, she whispered. After everything I did, I corrected. You gave me life. I gave you stability. We're not even. Her lips parted, but I didn't give her time to speak. You have 24 hours. Take your things. Leave my house. And don't come back unless you're ready to take responsibility for the way you've treated me. Knox made a sound like he was about to explode, but I didn't care. My father stepped forward, pointing a trembling finger at me. If we walk out that door, he said, we might never come back. I exhaled slowly. Then that's a choice you make. Not me. He stared at me, trying to intimidate me, trying to guilt me, trying to find the version of me who used to fold instantly. But she wasn't there anymore. He saw it. He knew it. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one who backed down. My mother grabbed her purse first. her movements sharp, angry, embarrassed. Knox stormed ahead, shoving his chair so hard it toppled. My father lingered at the doorway. For a moment, I thought he might turn around, apologize, soften something, anything. But he didn't. He just looked at me with disappointment, the kind he used as a weapon. Then he said it. "You'll regret this." I didn't blink. "No," I replied. "I already regret every moment I let it get this far." He swallowed hard, then left. The door shut behind them with a heavy, final thud. And I stood there, alone in the quiet. Except it didn't feel quiet. It felt free, painful, but free. Like someone had finally untied ropes I hadn't even known were wrapped around my ribs. That I sank into the nearest chair and let out a shaky breath I felt like I'd been holding for years. Not minutes. Not hours. Years. Tears finally slid down my cheeks. Not from sadness, not from loss, but from relief. Pure, terrifying relief. For the first time in my life, the house felt like mine. The air felt clean. The silence felt peaceful, and I whispered to myself, to the version of me who survived all of it, "You're done. You're free." The next morning they were gone. Everything they owned had been taken. Every room was empty of their presence, except one thing, a note on the kitchen counter in my mother's handwriting. "Someday you'll understand what it means to sacrifice for family." I folded the note once, twice, 3 times, then dropped it into the trash. "I already do," I whispered. "I just won't sacrifice myself anymore." Asher ran into the kitchen a moment later, bright-eyed, smiling, safe. "Mom!" His voice was soft, innocent, hopeful. "Yeah, baby." He hugged my leg tightly. "I'm glad it's just us again." I knelt down and wrapped my arms around him. "Me too," I thought. But I didn't say that. I only whispered against his hair. "We're okay now." And for the first time it was true.